welcome back to Scandal Queens. It is me, EB, the D-influencer you love or love to hate, and I am back with another great episode for you today. That is right. We have reached the end. Thank fucking Christ. The Mac Daddy episode in this 4-part deep dive series into the Kardashian / Kardashian family. And I am joined today for this final leg by my dear friend Connie, who's joining us from the other side of the world. Hello, Connie.
Hello.
How are you?
I made it here. We're doing it. And there's people dying, Kim. There's people dying.
There's people dying, Kim. Yes, that is definitely going to be the theme of today, because there's lots of death. There's at least 3 deaths in this episode that we know of for sure, 100% concrete, that you can tie Kardashian affiliates to. And so that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to talk about today. And we've covered a lot so far, right? We've delved into the Kardashian family's ties to the early Pentecostal movements, specifically their ties to Avok Hagopian and William Branham, movements today, which, by the way, have become a part of the Latter Rain, the NAR, and the Seven Mountains Mandate, which Lou Taylor is a part of. We've also covered the shadowed history of Great Western Packing, which Uncle Tom got arrested for in the 1970s, as well as Uncle Robert Kardashian, which is a different Robert Kardashian. And we've covered Papa Robert Kardashian's, Kim's daddy. We've covered his strange ties to the American music industry in the 70s and 80s. But today, it's the meat. It's the stuff you've been waiting for. It's not really good stuff. It's pretty horrible stuff. But the black marks on the family's track record that, in my personal opinion, undeniable. So buckle up, Buttercup, because this is it. The crimes of the Kardashian family in black and white. It's going to be deep. It's going to be nasty, and it's going to be mind-boggling and probably pretty long. So get comfy, lock in. We got a low-rent Sopranos family to cover. Are you ready, Connie?
I personally don't like eating green, mushy meat, but I'm here for this.
That's definitely what it is. Rotten, because we're starting off right off the top with O.J. Simpson, the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson, Ronald Goldman, and the trial of the century. So when we left off last episode, Kris Kardashian and Robert Kardashian, horrible relationship. He was making her listen to housewife tapes. She was cheating with Todd Waterman and allegedly beating the kids. They had just divorced. It was 1991. They had had a couple years of back and forth, but they had settled, amicable terms, signed off on the split. Kris gets married soon after. I think she gets married in 1991, like right after the divorce is finalized, but it might be 1992. She gets married to Bruce Jenner, who is living as Bruce Jenner at the time, who's a famous Olympian, very famous, because Kris obviously has a type, right? She had that pro golfer in the beginning, then she cheated with Todd Waterman, who's a soccer player, and then Bruce Jenner. So I think she must have a type. But if you just left the story there, it sounds pretty good, right? Because the Kardashian family, it's like, okay, right, some shady, he's working with some people who might have ties to the mafia, they didn't treat each other very well, okay, right, not that big of a deal. But even Kris and Robert said the years following their divorce were peaceful and they were kind of friends, easy street stuff, but that all detonated in 1994 with a scandal that the family would not be able to distance themselves from. On June 12th, 1994, the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman were discovered outside of Nicole's Brentwood, California home. Well, late on the 12th, early on the 13th. It was a horrific scene. Both individuals had been attacked viciously with a knife. Nicole had 12 total stab wounds in her body, including a wound to the neck that had nearly decapitated her. They could see her larynx through the wound, and it had actually, the knife had incised her cervical vertebrae in the back.
You got to be strong to make that kind of cut to the. Oh my goodness!
They didn't realize she was that wounded when they moved the body, and so when they picked her up to move the body, the head almost fell off.
Oh my God.
Her head almost fell off because of how, but there were not many defensive wounds on her, which is like wounds to the hands and the arms, trying to grab the knife and things like that, which means she was attacked very swiftly. Ronald Goldman, who was a friend, acquaintance, he worked at a restaurant that Nicole and her family used to go to quite a lot. He was discovered nearby, and he had sustained more than 20 blows from the knife, mostly to the head, the neck, and the chest. And he had very few defensive wounds as well, which again means, the police said, a very quick surprise attack. There are a lot more details into this. It's a huge thing. We could spend hours just going into the details of this case, the crime scene. It's horrible. The way the police processed it is horrible. What happened is absolutely horrible. It's just awful. There's endless books and documentaries if you want that will go into it and document both the crime scene and the trial. But our focus today is Robert Kardashian, and how he figured into these events, because he did way more. I think people are just like, oh, well, he just defended his friend at trial. No. He's so intimately involved with this case. It is absolutely mind-blowing because, as you'll remember, Nicole Brown and O.J. Simpson were close personal friends of Robert and Kris Kardashian. Like, close. That's why we spent so much time talking about it. Since the late 1970s, when they met at Harry Rothschild's house, it turns out, the Simpsons and the Kardashians had become intimately intertwined. Robert and O.J., by 1994, owned 3 to 4 businesses together. Okay. The family vacationed together. They went to barbecues and social events together in all the same circles. Kris herself has documented in the years following her shopping trips to New York City with Nicole Brown Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson's children. Intimately close. I posted some of the pictures on Patreon. You can go and just look up like O.J. Simpson Kardashian family vacation photos, and it's endless because they like went on family vacations every year together and spent holidays together and all this kind of stuff. It is these decades-long intimate family ties that brought Robert Kardashian into the limelight of what would become what they called the murder trial of the century, less than 12 hours after Nicole Brown Simpson's body had been discovered. He's in there less than 12 hours after the murders. So Robert Kardashian comes into the Simpson murder trial literally immediately. Nicole Brown Simpson gets murdered on the night of the 12th. We're going to be really timeline heavy here. And I should also probably preface this by saying all the information I'm about to share with you, this comes from the 1996 deposition of Robert Kardashian. This information is from Robert Kardashian himself. Okay, so it's all on Patreon. You can find it there. But Nicole Brown murdered on the night of the 12th. And then just after midnight on the 13th, literally at like 12:30, her body is discovered by neighbors who find her blood-covered dog barking in the street. They find her blood-covered dog. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, her dog, it turns out, Nicole's dog was standing out in the street, covered in blood up to its chest, like its legs were covered in blood, and it was standing outside the gate, facing the gate, barking. And the local dog walker saw it and said, oh, hey, come with me. And he took the dog back with him, but the dog was upset, so he took the dog back to Nicole's house. Didn't notice 2 bodies outside, apparently, like just inside the gate. Couldn't get anyone to come to the main gate, so then he took the dog to the neighbor's house, the next door neighbors, and they said, right, well, we'll keep him until we hear from Nicole. But the dog was, again, covered in blood and so agitated that the neighbors went, right, we got to take it back. We're just going to put it in the yard. And when they went to do that, that's when they discovered her body. So it was like 12:30, 12:58, something like that. Really, really crazy. That same night, the same night of the murders, okay, O.J. Simpson had seen Nicole earlier that night. They went to the graduation, like an elementary school graduation of his daughter. About an hour and a half after the murders took place, O.J. Simpson catches a flight to Chicago from LAX that leaves at like 11:45, 11:58 p.m. To go star in a celebrity golf tournament for Hertz, who he is the poster boy for. So this is the same night as the murders, and this is when Kardashian enters the story. According to his deposition, which was part of O.J. Simpson's civil trial in 1996. On the morning of June 13th, Robert Kardashian was contacted by who we don't know, because he does not disclose that in his deposition, which probably means we can assume it was O.J. He's called the morning of the 13th and alerted that O.J. Simpson is on his way home to his Brentwood mansion because the police have demanded it and Nicole has been killed. Very, very, very fucking shady. Absolutely insane. This is like before most of the world knows about this, Robert Kardashian knows she's dead and he's on his way to Rockingham Estate. Later that morning, news gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger and bigger. Media starts to gather outside the home. OJ eventually shows up, but Robert Kardashian is somehow there 15, 20 minutes before him. OJ Simpson gets out of the car. He's got a black duffel bag. He walks straight into the house. Straight into the house. His assistant gets out of the car with a garment bag that Robert Kardashian ends up taking, which is going to be really, really, really significant because here's the thing. These 2 garment bags especially that O.J. Simpson came home from Chicago with the morning after Nicole's murder, these could have contained murder weapons. They could have contained bloody clothes. They could have contained any amount of evidence because O.J. Simpson departed with these bags basically immediately after the murders occurred. And there's a bunch of other shady stuff in between, like a driver that couldn't find him during the time of the murders. There's a lot of stuff. But these bags could have contained really, really crucial evidence. And Robert Kardashian ends up taking one of these bags in front of cameras. He's filmed doing this. He takes one of the garment bags and puts it in the trunk of his car. I kid you fucking not. And he later in the deposition, he's going to say, oh, well, I tried to give it to police, but it was filmed. The media filmed him taking this garment bag that is potentially evidence less than 12 hours after Nicole has been murdered and puts it in the trunk of his car. Absolutely fucking nuts. Crazy, 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 crazy. And it's not even the first time it's going to happen is what's really crazy. Connie, you look mind boggled. Yeah. Yeah. Not the first time it's going to happen.
Yeah, how is no one alerting anyone? Like, no one should be taking anything from any vehicle at any part. Like, the cops should have swarming that car the second OJ come out. No one should. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Robert Kardashian in the deposition, he says, well, they corner him on this. They're like, right, so your friend is suspected of murder. He gets out of the car with multiple bags of evidence, potentially. And you take one? And you put it in your car, you didn't try to give it to the police. And Robert Kardashian eventually says, oh, well, I did. I went and walked up to the police and said, you should take this. But they just said, no, you can't come in, which later, as we'll talk about, Robert Kardashian is going to admit that he had a second piece of luggage that was potentially from that same night in Chicago that he goes with OJ. It's a whole thing, but he has a whole nother bag of luggage that he doesn't report. It's fucking shady. So OJ Simpson, less than 12 hours after the murder of his ex-wife, this is the morning of the 13th still, he comes home from Chicago. Robert Kardashian takes one of his luggage bags, puts it in the back of his car. Now, the following 4 days basically spiral into a media nightmare. The 13th through the 17th is so fucking critically important, and especially if you're trying to understand Robert Kardashian's role, and it is a media nightmare. O.J. Simpson becomes the center of every news report, and the bloody steps of... I will never forget this, because I was in like kindergarten when this was going on, and I will never forget the bloody steps, because she had these like orange terracotta tile steps, and there was just these puddles of blood all over the steps and all over these like terracotta pathway steps. And it was horrific. It's everywhere. It's on every magazine, every newspaper, every news station. That's all they're talking about. The police take OJ into custody that morning after he comes home from Chicago, and they question him for 2 to 3 hours. They release him on the 13th. And guess who's there to greet him? Guess who's there to welcome him back home? Robert Kardashian. Yeah, Bobbert. Bobbert Kardashian. According to Robert Kardashian, on the afternoon of the 13th, again, less than 24 hours after Nicole's murder, he and a bunch of other attorneys and business managers, partners and friends rush over to OJ's office, and they all sit there for hours in this meeting that, again, in the deposition, Robert Kardashian refuses to disclose what's being talked about. But what he does disclose is that he sits there and answers the phone. He talks to Marcus Allen and all these other people during this time, the Shapiros, a whole parade of shady motherfuckers. On the evening of the 13th, again, less than 24 hours after the murder of Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman, Robert Kardashian leaves OJ's office with OJ and goes with OJ to his home. So he's still with him. He's still with him. And here's something that I think is really, really critical. In his 1996 deposition, Kardashian later claimed that on the night of the 13th, right, the night after the murders, while at OJ's home, he noticed that one of OJ's hands was badly injured. According to Kardashian, on that night, the 13th, he noticed that there was a badly swollen knuckle and a horrific cut that like split between his fingers, which is a common area where you get slippage wounding when you're stabbing someone, right? That's crazy. In the 1996 deposition, Kardashian kind of tells his story as though, oh, I was suspicious and I asked him about it and it really unsettled me, but I just chose to believe my friend. But that's not the story he was singing in 1994, right? When the original trial happened. When the original trial happened, after the 13th, the whole fucking time, 6 months, he sat there and went, no, he's innocent. I know for a fact he's innocent. He's never done anything wrong. He's innocent. But then we have him admitting in 1996, oh yeah, the morning after his wife was murdered with a knife, I noticed he had pretty bad cuts and like injuries to his hands. Fucking diabolical. By the 14th, OJ had all been like but convicted in the court of public opinion, because right away people are like, he did it. He did it. He killed her. Because details about his former relationship with his ex-wife started to flood the media during this time, right? So by the second day, the 14th, you've got the story of this 1989 New Year's event coming back up. And what happened in 1989 was that Nicole ended up calling the police frantic, saying OJ had beaten her and he was going to kill her. When the police show up to their home, she's hiding in the bushes. Her lip is split. She's all scratched up and she's hysteric, saying, OJ's in the house. He's going to kill me. Please don't let him find me. In 1989, OJ went to trial for this. It was a huge public affair and he pled no contest to spousal abuse. So this was public. This was public.
Okay.
That was in 89.
What we know about domestic abuse and escalation, just like with serial killers, there is escalation with
Every
abuse,
time.
and it gets worse and worse and worse. But for anyone to ignore this and then let her continue to stay in a domestic abuse situation, like, I hope they can't
crazy.
fucking sleep.
It's crazy.
Oh.
And that wasn't the only time. There was multiple instances after that, between 89 and 94 when she was murdered. Then Nicole contacted the police. She was telling her friends she was in hiding because he was going to kill her. Like, just horrific stuff. She was documenting it in a journal. She had taken Polaroids of herself that she was keeping in a safe deposit box. Family said from 1978 on, they regularly saw her with broken arms, black eyes, busted lips, like face with rug burn and nail gouges in it and stuff like that. Like, he beat the shit out of her all the time. All the time. And as you said, it escalated. And the Kardashians still to this day claim they never saw shit, which is a fucking lie. I'm sorry. That is a fucking bullshit lie. They never saw shit. There's those kinds of men that escalate to this point. They don't hide that shit around their closest friends and buddies. They do not. I don't care what people say. They show toxic shit. They may not do it all the time, and they may not literally punch their partner like right in the eye, but they scream at them, they yell at them, they belittle them, they talk shit to them in front of people when it's this extreme.
There's usually an amount of fear that they create in their friends as well. And it's
Bingo.
that whole, like, it's not, I don't know if it's the bystander effect or that whole, like, fear of doing something about it, or the like intensity of their rage will be directed at the friend instead. And it's just safer for them to just let it keep happening because at least they're being yelled at by this person, you know?
And of course, the Kardashians were making a lot of money off of OJ. He was the face of their little frozen yogurt business, and he was like the face of their little cinema concert business and all these little side businesses that were backed by Azoff and all this shit. So they were making a lot of money off of him. They don't want the juice going to jail because then, you know, there's only limited things they can sell if he's in prison, and they're going to lose like Hertz sponsorships and whatever else they're making money off of him with. So it's crazy. So, according to Kardashian, OJ by this point is manic. June 14th, about 18 hours after Nicole Brown's murder, Kardashian takes OJ Simpson to the airport where OJ picks up golf clubs and a bag, like another duffel bag, carrier bag, that had gone with him to Chicago. And remember, by this point, Robert Kardashian still has one of OJ's other garment bags from that trip in his car. He actually switches them between his two cars. It's in the Rolls Royce ones, and then he says he moves it to another car, and then it ends up in his daughter's bedroom. Very, very fucking murky stuff. Very, very fucking murky stuff. So they pick up the bags on the 14th from the airport. Robert Kardashian drives OJ Simpson back to OJ Simpson's home, but the media is so bad that Robert says, okay, you know what, buddy? Don't stay here. You can't stay here. You need to come home and stay with me. And this is where it gets so murky. It's so murky. And if you read the deposition, you'll understand what I'm saying. Around June 14th, O.J. Simpson packs up some bags, goes with Robert Kardashian to his family home. Kardashian claims that the former football player was a mess, just was like fluctuating and saying crazy stuff. Of course, he would never divulge what he was saying, but there were people constantly around him, and the media machine was like the Kardashian Shapiro media machine was already trying to move around and make statements to kind of defend him to the press, but it didn't matter. The cracks were starting to show. Somewhere around the 15th or the 16th of June, 3 to 4 days after the murders, OJ allegedly tries or threatens to kill himself in Kim Kardashian's bedroom. She's not home at the time, but she's 13 years old, and he allegedly tries to kill himself in her bedroom, which is a story the family still tells. Very odd. But Robert says he talks him out of it.
I'm yet to meet someone who, in these sorts of situations, and in like even like less, but still like you're probably going to jail stories where they end up threatening to kill themselves because they know they're going to end up in jail.
Yeah, got nothing else to lose, right? Like at that point. So after Robert Kardashian talks O.J. Simpson out of killing himself in Kim Kardashian's childhood bedroom, he allegedly, this is when OJ leaves another bag inside one of the children's bedrooms, another duffel bag. And we're not sure if this is the one that was picked up with the golf bags or not, because Robert Kardashian really fuzzes this up. But another luggage bag is left in the Kardashian home during this kind of little saga. And Khloe jokes about it. If you think I'm lying and you don't want to go and read 120 plus pages of deposition, just go and Google Khloe Kardashian talking about like luggage evidence being left, because she joked about it on a podcast years ago. She's like, yeah, there used to just be one of OJ Simpson's bags in my closet and we just knew not to open it. He. There may have been evidence in it. He. Like, just ridiculous shit. Yeah, Connie, that's the face.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, awful. So by the night of the 16th, right, we're now basically 4 days after the murder, it becomes clear that O.J. Simpson is the most likely party responsible and that the police are going to come get him. It's like very, 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 very obvious. It's increasingly clear. Now, here's what is direly fucking important that everyone needs to understand, because it's so fucking shady. Somewhere in this window of time, right, between the 13th and the night of the 16th, the night before O.J. Simpson gets arrested, Robert Kardashian reactivates his attorney license. He has not practiced law in years. He has not practiced law since the 1970s. And when he did practice law, if you'll remember, he was with Emer and Bedrosian, who did corporate law, and then they expanded into private healthcare, right? He was not a criminal lawyer, although he will say he defended a DUI case once. He was not a criminal attorney, okay? But somewhere in these 4 days, the night before O.J. Simpson gets arrested, he reactivates his attorney license and immediately is granted what is called attorney-client privilege, which means anything O.J. has said to him about the murders, he no longer has to divulge. He doesn't have to tell police. He doesn't have to testify about it. Nothing, because he's O.J.'s attorney, and that is attorney-client privilege, and it lasts forever. Until OJ dies, until Robert Kardashian dies, forever, unless OJ legally waives it. Very fucking shady, because suddenly 25 plus years of friendship and potential witnessed abuse no longer has to be shared with the court, because that suddenly becomes a part of this case. Okay?
Right, and because he's been friends with him for so long and he's so close to him, he's probably seen all of that. And if he didn't have that client attorney privilege, the courts could have pulled him up and had him
to testify.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
But suddenly when he was his attorney, as part of his defense counsel, nope. And he could go in and out of the prison, visit OJ as much as he wanted after he was arrested, all of that kind of stuff. So very shady. Somewhere in that 4 days, Robert Kardashian reactivates his license and allegedly takes on a case that he's got no fucking experience or business representing. So just before noon on June 17th, 1994, O.J. Simpson is still at Robert Kardashian's house. The police show up. They surround the Kardashian home, because that's where O.J. was originally going to be arrested, at fucking Robert Kardashian's house. They surround the home to arrest O.J., but guess what? Turns out he's gone. He's escaped. He's somehow been tipped off, and he's been picked up in a white Ford Bronco by his friend Al Cowlings, and they escape just before the police arrive at the Kardashian home. Again, not pointing any fingers, but it's fucking weird. It's fucking suspicious. We'll never know. We'll never know what happened. But what we do know is that what followed was the 2-hour low-speed chase with police and a long driveway standoff that resulted in OJ finally getting arrested. But here's what blew my mind, right? You know that white Bronco chase that everybody knows, that famous picture of the white Bronco being followed by the police down the highway?
Wasn't there like a whole... wasn't that like broadcasted? Am I wrong with that?
Yeah,
like,
no, it was all over every news channel basically in the world, because it was 2 hours of them chasing OJ around greater LA.
Pizza places had like way more business because no one wanted to leave their house and everyone was ordering pizza.
Yeah. It was a spectacle. I remember seeing it. as a kid. It was a big fucking deal. Guess who was on the phone with OJ while he was holding a gun to his head, threatening to kill himself in the car? Bobbert Kardashian was on the phone with him in the car while he was babbling God knows what. God. I get so mad about this. I'm so mad because he never had to divulge any of this, because he's now under attorney-client privilege. He doesn't have to divulge anything that gets said. So because as of the 17th, as I said, OJ was officially arrested and charged with the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman after he finally brings the white Bronco to a stop in the driveway of his home, and he's arrested. Robert Kardashian, after years of not practicing law, pops up, says, I'm part of his legal counsel, and I don't have to tell you anything, but you're going to see my face a whole lot, because as much as Robert Kardashian didn't want to talk about his relationship with O.J. Simpson, he sure the fuck did want to be on TV a lot. A lot. And he literally went on TV hours after OJ's arrest and read a rambling suicide note from Mr. OJ Simpson. Let's listen to a short clip of Robert Kardashian getting himself on TV and starting himself a new little career of bullshit. Here we go.
Was written by OJ today. To whom it may concern. First, everyone understand I had nothing to do with Nicole's murder. I loved her, always have, and always will. If we had a problem, it's because I loved her so much. Recently, we came to the understanding that for now, we were not right for each other, at least for now.
We'll stop there because I think that's, language of the abuser. Am I right?
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
What did I just hear?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Oh my God.
Yep.
That is holy shit biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
I loved her too much. That is the most abuser-coded bullshit. I loved her so much that I had to beat the shit out of her.
Bingo. That's exactly what I thought.
What the fuck? I love you, so I'm going to hit you, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, and threaten to kill you.
God.
Yeah. Yep.
What the fuck was that, dude?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep. That's what I thought. And that's like the first 5 seconds of the letter. It's the start of a new career for Robert Kardashian, right? Because he ends up on TV basically every other week for the next fucking 4 years or something. Absolutely just absurd. But that's the first thing I thought when I heard that as well. I was like, that's the language of an abuser. And the fact as well that he comes out right off the bat and says, I didn't do it. And all that bad stuff that you hear that I've done to her, it's because I loved her too much. It's because I loved her too much. It's absurd. And the fact that Robert Kardashian is like, yeah, no, I'm going to get on TV and read this also shows that to him, this is because remember, he's defending OJ at this point. He thinks this is like a good thing. He thinks that this is good language. He thinks this is a good thing to say. He doesn't see any red flag in any of this rambling suicide note denial that he reads.
An abuser too.
Bingo, 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 bango. 100%. 100%. Abusers protecting fucking abusers. I'm sure Robert knocked Chris around as well. I'm sure look at his friend's a fucking murderer, you know?
With that line, of course he did.
Yeah, and he's little. He's a little man. Little tiny man. Little teeny tiny man. You know how they get. You know how they can get.
Oh.
So what would follow that moment? That's the 17th. He gets on TV and reads that. As it was titled then, The Murder Trial of the Century. And Robert Kardashian is one of OJ's defense team, becomes central to it all. And again, I'm not going to go into the full details of the trial here. It's crazy. If you're listening to this, you probably already know anyway. But OJ Simpson was eventually found not guilty of both counts of murder in the federal trial, but he did go on to be found liable of the murders in the civil trial, which is the same as guilty in the civil trial. And he had to pay the Goldmans and Nicole Brown's family like $33 million or $35 million or something like that. But Robert Kardashian, per his own words throughout the trial, acted as a, quote, liaison between OJ and the defense team. He visited OJ in prison on an almost daily basis. And any day he wasn't there, Robert Kardashian sent his little paralegal woman to sit with OJ Simpson 24 hours a day inside jail. 24 hours a fucking day. Unbelievable.
I hear the liaison part and I'm like, so you were the filter.
Yeah, he was just running around listening to everything. Yeah. Yep. Absorbing all the confessions, I'm sure. Because he had claimed attorney-client privilege, Kardashian was able to avoid any questions into any conversations he had ever had with OJ. He didn't have to testify about any abuse he potentially witnessed. He lied about it anyway. He denied, I never saw anything. I saw them get into a verbal altercation just one time in the 20 years we were friends. Bullshit. And he didn't share any information that he was given by OJ in the days after the murders either. If and when you go and read the deposition, you will be fucking infuriated, just like the counsel for Nicole Brown's family is, because Kardashian and his counsel, essentially, every time there's a question about OJ, no matter what, they could say, what was the weather like when you were outside with OJ? And they'll say, not talking about it, privileged information. They won't talk about fucking anything. And they really incriminate themselves several times because Kardashian's counsel throughout the 96 deposition says things like, we're not going to tell you that because if he says that, that could indicate truth or untruth. And we're not going to put him in that position. It's very, 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 very shady. It's very, very shady. But that attorney-client privilege is particularly important because during the course of the trial, it came out that Nicole had been physically abused by OJ for the whole of their relationship. She met him when she was 18. She was a waitress in a restaurant in Beverly Hills. She was 18. Robert was with OJ when he met her. Nicole allegedly told friends that they had an encounter that night, and OJ was so aggressive with her, the 18-year-old, that he ripped her clothing in the process. So the aggression started right away. Between 1978 and 1985, when they got married, her friends and family saw her with a broken arm, black eyes, cuts, scrapes. They saw in the interior of the house really fucked up where he had put her head through a wall or he had put his fist through a wall. For the whole time, there was just obvious abuse. This is not like some little sneaky, snaky narcissist who's just doing psychological and emotional and like screaming and yelling behind closed doors. This is somebody who was regularly beating his wife to a fucking pulp. And I'm sorry, you don't not see that.
What's the age gap between OJ and Nicole?
I think it's 10 years, maybe a little bit less. Maybe a little bit less because he was younger than Robert Kardashian.
No, still icky.
It's still gross.
If she's
the whole
18
thing's gross.
Than her, oh.
He was a grown man out of college and in business with Robert Kardashian. He met her in 78. So
if you can't date in the like 3 to 5 years around you when you're like, when you could still, you're only 10 years out of the teen gap or whatever. If you're still dating in the teen gap, you're disgusting.
He would have been at least 10 years older than her because he graduated college, I think, in the late 60s, maybe the early 70s. And she was 18 in 78. So, it had to be older than her by at least like 10 years, I would assume. It turns out in trial, tons and tons and tons of abuse. And of course, Robert Kardashian and the rest of the council the whole time. No. He's innocent. You guys misunderstand everything. They get a bunch of evidence blocked. Like she had kept journals. Nicole kept journals for years and years and years that documented like, OJ put my head through a wall today, or OJ broke my arm, or OJ said he was going to kill me. And they basically said she's a crazy woman who was emotional, so you can't use her diaries in court because it's all nonsense because she's just a hysterical woman. So that wasn't allowed to be used in the federal trial, but it was in the civil trial. They let everything be used in the civil trial. Yeah,
I want the word to be banned so badly.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
It's very, very bad. So Robert Kardashian rode his attorney-client privilege to the grave, and he also rode the fame wave too. On the back of O.J. Simpson trial, he allegedly made millions, so much money that when he was questioned about it on Barbara Walters, he said, I don't feel comfortable talking about my finances. I'm not comfortable disclosing with you how much I've been paid to do stuff. But we know a little bit because according to Wayne Hughes, a billionaire who was also a funder of O.J. Simpson, very fucking shady. In the deposition, he got questioned during the civil trial, and he said Robert Kardashian was being paid $3,000 a day by the O.J. Simpson estate for legal services rendered during the trial. After the trial, as confirmed on a 1996 Barbara Walters interview, Kardashian was also paid a fee for his controversial contributions. I could have done better than that. To the book American Tragedy: The Uncensored Story of the O.J. Simpson Defense by Lawrence Schiller, which is like a tabloid slop, just making more money off these murders kind of book. Schiller, of course, was also questioned during the 1996 civil trial, and he revealed that Kardashian himself was also shopping a book that he had written. So he wanted to get paid even more because he wanted to write his own book about what he had done. And he went on a huge press tour as well during this time in 1996. 1994, 1995, and 1996, Kardashian was on press tours, presumably getting compensated well because he's on major shows like Dateline, 2020, Court TV, Larry King. He's doing personal home interviews with Barbara Walters. He ain't doing that shit for free. He didn't doing any of that shit for free. And all the while, it's all OJ, 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 OJ. And despite all the money it made him, the trial still split the family. And we know this because during the trial, around late 94, maybe even into 1995, he wrote a letter to Chris saying, you got to stop splitting this family, because she supposedly sided against OJ. And he wrote this letter saying, you know, OJ's innocent. We have to unite our family over this. So he's seeing split knuckles, and he's writing letters to his family saying, we got to defend OJ. The whole thing is fucking muddy, shady, and gross. It's the whole thing, just gross. So while Robert Kardashian dodged any real accountability for his involvement in potentially hiding evidence for O.J. Simpson, he would be held to the flames in 96 during that deposition that we've been talking about. And this deposition is important because by 1996, Robert Kardashian suddenly, when he's involved in the civil trial, starts singing a completely different tune about O.J. Simpson and his innocence. In the deposition, which again, it's like 120 pages long, video's never been released, never ever been released for some reason. We have Britney Spears' whole horrifically sad, awful arrest videos, which are heartbreaking to listen to. But we can't see Robert Kardashian testifying about his involvement with O.J. Simpson. He relies heavily on this attorney-client privilege, as I've said, but he really, I think, accidentally outlines this kind of cohesive organization around OJ and attempts to get him knowingly, consciously out of trouble when they know that he's done a fucking crime. And there are two, if you go and read this deposition, there are two big things that I really want you to pay attention to. Number one, at the top of the deposition, the counsel for the families of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman tell Kardashian that the deposition is going to be used to potentially impeach him. And what that means is lose his license as a lawyer forever, but also potentially charged with a crime himself. Like if a lawyer gets impeached and it's found that they're like criminally liable, they can be held accountable for that. So that's a big scary, which is why I think he starts singing a different tune. The second big thing, if you go and read these depositions that I think you should pay attention to, is there is this moment when his counsel claims attorney-client privilege in regards to a conversation that he and OJ are having. Robert Kardashian says, I talked to OJ on the phone. We're talking about our children. Counsel for Nicole Brown's family says, oh, what did you guys say about your children? To which Robert Kardashian's counsel comes back and says, objection, privileged information. And the counsel for Nicole Brown, yeah, go ahead.
If it's privileged information, then it's to do with the
trial, with the legal advice, with the trial, with the murders. Correct. So the counsel for Nicole Brown goes, well, how is a conversation about their children privileged information? Like, we're just trying to establish how friendly are. Like, how would the children have anything to do with the trial? And the counsel's like, doesn't matter. If you've got a problem with it, we can get a judge. Or if you want to just stop this deposition, we can get a judge and you guys can fight about whether it's privileged or not. But we're claiming privileged information. Now,
but isn't there like a thing to do with the son?
Yes, that's exactly why this is important. Bingo, 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 bingo. So this is important because there has long been a thought, a conspiracy, that O.J. Simpson's oldest son from his previous relationship, Jason, who was in his 20s at the time of this, there's long been suspicion that he either committed the murders or was involved somehow with the murders because he was a sous chef. He carried knives on him. There's a discrepancy about when he checked out of work that night and how he signed out of work. Again, you can go down that rabbit hole if you want to go down it. But it is interesting that there seems to be a lot of pieces fit that Jason could have helped his dad or could have been involved in it. And then it's very interesting in this deposition, suddenly in 1996, Robert Kardashian claims that conversation about O.J. Simpson's children are off limits because it's privileged information, aka it has something to do with legal advice or the crime. So if you go with the theory that Jason, his child, did it, then you could potentially apply this moment in the deposition where Robert Kardashian says, not talking about his kids, it's privileged information. That could potentially fit, in my personal opinion. I've never seen anybody talk about that moment, but for me, that's what that kind of smacks of for me.
This makes me think when you were talking about the fact that the police said that it was a very surprise attack.
Yes.
Both of them.
Both of them.
And if possible, it means that one of the other, whoever was killed first, didn't have time to call out to the other and warn them.
Yeah, because no one heard screams that night. They heard the dogs barking starting at about 10:15, but no one heard screams, shouts for help, nothing.
It means that's where the possibility that two people were on site.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
First, foil hat on, and I know fuck all about this.
Yeah.
But that would indicate that there's no way for them to call out to each other. So they, if Jason helped, then they both went in at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think basically Jason, I don't think he was ever really questioned by police or anything. I don't think he was a major part. It was kind of just dismissed as leave OJ's children alone, which the two youngest one, I actually really respect the media. They left the two youngest babies alone. They didn't talk about them. Photographers don't follow them. They have been really respectful by and large of the Simpson kids, but it's a weird moment, and it's a weird moment in the deposition when he says, I'm not talking about the kids. That's privileged information. It's very odd. It's very, very odd. But by the summer of 96, Robert Kardashian goes back on Barbara Walters. This is now like his second or third interview, and she goes into his house and she meets the kids and all this kind of stuff. But what's really interesting is when Robert Kardashian in 1996, a year after the trials, when he's standing up there with all the rest of them saying, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. By 1996, he's saying, yeah, I think OJ was guilty. And actually, did you know that Shapiro, the head of the council, knew he was guilty and was going to frame me as an accessory? He says that in a fucking interview. He says the whole defense team knew OJ Simpson was guilty and they were trying all these different plans to get him off and they were going to frame me as an accessory. He says that to Barbara Walters, and it smacks of a rat throwing everybody under the bus before he can get thrown under the bus. It almost feels like Robert Kardashian's trying to get ahead of a potential charge. Like he's heard someone might charge him as being an accessory because of all this hidden fucking potential evidence that is upstairs in his daughter's closet. And he's now gone on Barbara Walters to go, oh, yeah. They used to joke about that, about me, you know, like they were going to make me the accessory. But that's just so absurd because here I am telling you the truth. It's very rat-like. He's very, very, very rat-like. Robert Kardashian would die in 2003 from esophageal cancer. And according to those closest to him at the time, he would claim that his mind had changed completely. He believed now that OJ had murdered Nicole and Ron. And the people closest to Robert alleged that he carried great guilt over his involvement in OJ's escape from justice. But if that's true, guess what? We'll never fucking know, because the only thing we know that Robert Kardashian ever happily got on a television to tell the public over and over and over and over and over again was how convinced he was that his best buddy, his best pal, the murderer, was totally innocent of killing the woman that he had watched him abuse for years. So that's the O.J. Simpson, Robert Kardashian saga in a nutshell. It's
a good justice that old Bobbert died of throat cancer when, like, we talking all the shit.
Yeah.
You know?
And lying. Yeah. Lying, not speaking up on things he should have spoken up on, and then lying about shit he shouldn't have been lying about to steal money, and then he dies of throat cancer. It is very kind of, you know, poetic in a way. But yeah, it's murky, it's dirty, it's gross. I'm doing a breakdown of the deposition on Patreon if you're more into that, but you should definitely go and read it. It's not the story the Kardashians have painted. It's it's low rent mafia shit. Just low rent mafia shit. It's very gross. And 2 people died, and their murderer didn't really get, you know, there wasn't really justice for that, even though OJ's now dead too of cancer.
I think back to that moment where he's asking Chris to, you know, stop splitting the family and making, you know, like choosing a different side than him, and we need to be on the same. But yet he's like only just turning around and saying that he thinks OJ might be a killer at this other point. It's like, no, buddy, like you knew. Because only a would turn around and be like, no, we have to have a specific set of this and this. You know, he knew.
He knew. I think he was just trying to probably preserve everything because eventually this, I'm not big enough. I don't have a big enough mouth. I don't have a big enough reach to matter. But eventually one day, someone who does have a big enough mouth and a big enough reach is going to tell the truth about this story. And eventually it's going to completely fucking destroy them. People inside of this are going to reveal just how much they knew, how much they were involved in hiding shit, covering shit up consciously. All of this will all come out. It will all come out one day. Like all it always does. It always does. It always ends up in books. So I don't know what the fuck they think they're going to hide, but yeah. Pretty bad stuff. This, in my opinion, was the darkest chapter for the Kardashians. After all their wheeling and dealing, their defense of their, celebrity murderer friends, it resulted in the death of a man and a woman. Right? That's pretty fucking bad. It's kind of hard to get worse than defending your friend who's murdered multiple people. And you do ask, like, to what extent did Robert enable that? To what extent did Chris enable it? Because protecting abusers, allowing them to carry on, to escalate, keeping your mouth shut while they do escalate, that's enabling. It's fucking enabling. But the Kardashians made a lot of money out of OJ, and they still do today because they still talk about him in interviews. Chris went in a magazine a couple years ago and was like, I was with Nicole when she bought the gloves that OJ was wearing when he murdered her. Just gross shit. They still capitalize on it. It's just really, really gross. But, it wasn't going to be the end because, like flies to shit, the Kardashians cannot stay away from a scandal or a crime for very, very long. In 2007, just 4 years after Robert Kardashian's passing, his second daughter, Kim, born in 1980, skyrocketed to viral fame after the quote-unquote leak of her sex tape with music artist Ray J, the brother of much more popular recording artist Brandy. The sex tape made Kim a household name and came just 3 years after the sex tape of her boss and sometimes best friend, Paris Hilton. Kim rode the wave of notoriety as far as it would take her, quickly capitalizing on the moment to grab a reality television show just 5 months after the release of her sex tape. Keeping Up with the Kardashians aired in October of 2007. Her sex tape came out in March, and it only bumped up the notoriety of the already notorious family. Here's what's interesting, though. Years later, so people are like, oh my God, a producer saw them and just went, you're so funny, and gave them a show. No. Years later in an interview, Ryan Seacrest revealed that by the time Kim released her sex tape in 2007, in March of 2007, Kim and her mother, Kris Jenner, had already been shopping around begging someone to give them a reality show for years. Because reality TV in America in the early 2000s was insane. It was big money. It was crazy shit. Everybody watched it. Every channel had its own stuff. I really liked VH1, Rock of Love, Flavor of Love. And she wanted that. Got denied. No one wanted to work with them until the sex tape. And suddenly Kris was able to finally get a show for her darling little daughter after being rejected by several producers. Now, that story, people think, well, that's the story. The sex tape, famous. But here's what's really interesting. In 2025, Ray J, the ex who starred in the video, her co-star, Kim's co-star, came forward and claimed the whole tape was orchestrated and planned by Kris Jenner, Kim's mother. In May of 2026, he went on this month, he went on a podcast. Ray J went on another podcast and gave even more detail, saying that Kris knew about the whole thing and had even organized the quote unquote leak through Vivid Entertainment, which is like the biggest distributor of pornography. Allegedly, the way it was supposed to come out is that they would film the video, they would give it to Vivid, and then Kris Jenner would file a fake lawsuit. Kris and Kim would file a fake lawsuit against Vivid to make it look like they hadn't organized the whole thing. And then through that lawsuit, Vivid would quote unquote settle, and the settlement would be the payment for the video that was going to be distributed. Yeah. Very, 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 very sketchy stuff. But here's what's worse. In this recent interview, Ray J also said they had a meeting within hours of Kris getting the video. There was a meeting with executives. And when they left the meeting, Kris told him, go and shoot it again. It's got to be nastier this time. I want you to go and tear my daughter up on film and bring me the tape. Yeah.
Oh, gross.
It's so gross. It's so gross.
Like, first of all, if we go back to the earlier episodes, if you've been following along, Kris was pimped out by her mum.
Yep.
It all find a rich man, take all of for his money, keep finding rich men. That's what you do. And now Kris is pimping out Kim just to get money because
Bingo.
That's what she.
Yep. Patterning. And it's still part of the big there's a huge lawsuit that's currently going on between Ray J and Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner because he says they're going up for RICO charges. The feds are coming for them. They traffic people, look, Ray J's got some issues. I'm not going to deny that, but I think Ray J is not lying about everything that he's now accusing them of.
Trafficking is very much like the movie style trafficking of taking people across the border.
Yeah.
When And trafficking literally could be like picking a prostitute up and like taking her across state lines and then dumping.
Yeah.
Like that's still classed as trafficking. So like,
or even like what happened with Hayden Panettiere has been talking about. She was with who she thought was a friend who took her to a yacht party. And then that friend was like, oh, you're a little bit drunk. Like, why don't you go and get in bed? And her friend showed her to bed. And she thought she said she was 16 at the time. Her friend put her in bed and took her clothes off of her. And then Hayden rolled over and there was a grown man in the bed waiting for her. And she realized that her friend had been trying to traffic her. So that's kind of how the Hollywood thing works, is like you end up best buddies with someone who you don't realize is a madam who's like, oh my God, but like if you let Diddy, then like, he'll get you in the recording room. Like that's how this trafficking happens in Hollywood. They promise opportunities. They promise drugs, oh, he'll really love you. You'll get close to him.
Don't drink the baby oil.
Don't drink the baby oil. Jesus, don't touch it. Don't look at it. None of it. But that, of course, would not be the end of the Kardashians. That was just the start of the Kardashians that we know today. In 2008, even though Kim and Ray J eventually split after the sex tape and Kim vaulted to fame and all of that, her tangle with the Norwood family was not over, because in 2008, Ray J and Brandy's mother came forward and accused the Kardashian siblings, specifically Kim, Kourtney, Khloe, and Rob, of fraudulently charging more than $120,000 to one of Brandy's credit cards in their own stores, which is fucking crazy. They had a show. Why did they need to charge Brandy's credit card in their stores? The events had occurred, according to Brandy and Ray J's mother, when Kim was working as Brandy's stylist pre-sex tape. Brandy had cleared Kim to make a single purchase of a single item of clothing, and the Kardashians just kept her credit card number and just kept using it. The suit was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, but Sonia Norwood has recently rebirthed the allegations, because in this new suit between Ray J and the Kardashians that's going on, it's now a defamation suit. She has now said, yeah, I was being kind. They had actually charged more than $850,000 to Brandy's credit cards over a number of years. So it was closer to $1 million that they stole from us. Very, very shady. Very, 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 very shady. Very shady. That whole chapter, I think, doesn't get enough attention that they were. And this was all over the media. They settled out of court. This wasn't like tossed out. This got settled. They had to admit they were wrong and give this woman some money. Like, what?
Something, because you would rather it stop being in the public eye, and you need it to go the fuck away because you're wrong. Yep.
That same year, the Kardashian siblings were being accused of credit card fraud. Khloe Kardashian also ended up kind of going to jail. In 2007, the same year her sister's infamous sex tape came out, Khloe Kardashian was arrested shithoused hammered for a DUI, driving while she was shithoused, which was extensively documented in a sensational series of episodes on the show, which admittedly I have not watched. I've never seen an episode. Will never watch an episode.
One of my step siblings was real into the show, and it was always on. And I remember that. It was so funny.
Yeah. It's really nice when it happens to them. But by 2008, she got arrested because she got probation for the original DUI, violated it in 2008, and was sentenced to 30 days in jail, of which she served a whopping 3 hours before being bailed out to go and take DUI education classes and some community. I don't even think she got community service. I don't know. It to me, it smacked of Uncle Tom Kardashian getting arrested for that felony bribery of the bad meat that their meat packing factory was making. And, he just got like a little $10,000 fine, and then the president pardoned him a few years later, so he didn't have to be in trouble for all the bad shit that he did. It smacks of that to me, but it fits into the usual. This is why I was telling people, they were like, Kim Kardashian did a cocaine. I'm like, no. First of all, the Kardashians don't work hard enough to be drug dealers. Second of all, they like to do this legally gray area shit where all they're going to get is like a fine. That's the way they move. They're not honest enough to be drug dealers. They don't work hard enough to be drug dealers. They are WASPs. They do white Anglo-Saxon Protestant crimes. Like
they
this.
don't math to be cocaine dealers.
Yeah. Kim can't do the math. Kim can't do math well enough to be a drug dealer. Not a chance. Not happening. Not a chance. So yeah, Khloe got arrested for a DUI, goes to jail for 3 hours in 2008. But if you thought again that was going to be the last of the Kardashian crimes, brace yourselves, because we're about to talk about my favorite fucking scam that this family ever this is the pièce de la résistance, okay? Like this is humiliating. And if I had been a Kardashian sister, I would have gone out into the desert, buried my head in the sand, and never shown my face in public ever again. And I guarantee you Robert Kardashian was rolling in his grave when this happened. What am I talking about? The Kardashian Kard, a chapter of history that most people are not aware of, but me, an angry millennial that hates the Kardashians, I know all about it. And we're going to talk about it right now to this day. The Kardashian Kard was launched in 2010. And it is still, to this day, considered one of the most corrupt financial scams ever run by a celebrity in their own name. It's notorious. Forbes magazine, every so often, like every 5 years, will eventually put it on a list and be like, you remember the time the Kardashians did this ridiculous fucking thing? It was a scandal. It should have canceled them. I don't know why it didn't cancel them, but it should have. But essentially, here's what it was. The Kardashian Kard was a prepaid debit card marketed to preteens and teenagers. So children. It was a prepaid Kardashian debit card marketed to children. And it featured a picture of the 3 Kardashian sisters on the front. And it was sold as a card that would teach your children how to manage money. But of course, the Kardashians were the only ones getting any money out of this, because the card came with a ton of hidden fees. Super fucking scammy stuff. So you had to pay $9.95 to buy the card. And then you had to pay $7.95 a month to have the account. And then every time you used the card at an ATM, you had to pay $1.50 to them for that. And then if you wanted to do automatic bill pay, it was $2 per item that you were paying on the bill. And then every time you transferred money onto that card for your child, you had to pay a 2.5% transaction fee of whatever amount you were putting on the card. And if you didn't like that, you wanted to close the account, gonna cost you $6 to close the account. And to close the account, you had to talk to a real human being. But to do that, you had to pay $1.50 to speak to a human in customer service. Kid you fucking not. The card immediately, like literally less than 24 hours after it launched, scandal.
Teaching kids how to budget. It's teaching kids to never get a credit card in their life.
Yeah, and teaching the smart ones how to steal, probably. The other wasps how to steal. The card immediately, like literally the next morning, it got scathing fucking reviews. Forbes still has their original like ass ripping review up. I was just reading it yesterday. This horrible review up. Like, this is a fucking scam and these are scammers, and do not buy this card. Do not buy this card. And there's still articles up. There's still people blogging about how the Kardashian Kard ruined their life because they racked up so much debt that they ended up having to pay interest on and all this other kind of stuff. People are still writing.
But like, this wasn't just like they genuinely scammed people with that. Genuinely.
But here's what makes me laugh. This makes me chuckle so fucking much. And I think this in my head every time I get some idiot in my comments on TikTok going, you're just jealous because they're like business bosses. Kim Kardashian's a business genius. The card was pulled from market within 25 days. 25 days. They had to take the card off the market. Less than a month.
Do a full month. You know, like.
It boggles the mind. A fucking Kardashian debit card. What? Jesus. I think that's probably when that happened. That was the first horseman of the apocalypse, I think. I think this was the first horseman of the apocalypse warning us of what was coming, and we didn't heed it well enough. That's what I think. That's the Kardashian Kard. That's a very fun chapter that a lot of people don't know about in their financial scams. And at least, I actually don't know. I don't know if any parents killed themselves over this. I don't know. I don't know if we have a body count tied to this.
Like credit cards for kids. I can't.
Credit cards for children. What could go wrong? Launched by the woman with a big ass and a sex tape. What could go wrong?
Everything.
Daddy knee deep in the mob defended a murderer. Let's definitely get a credit card from those people. For sure. To be fair, you kind of go, well, the parents that bought this kind of fucking deserve it, because how stupid are you to buy something from Kim Kardashian? You know? But then we move on to another really fun chapter, because it was right around this time of the Kardashian Kard, 2010. It was in late 2009. Kris Jenner established a little thing called the California Community Church. Isn't that so interesting? In late 2000,
immediately takes right off.
Yep. In late 2009, Kris Jenner launched a small prayer group and prayer services, and the services started to grow. So she named them Life Change Church and was quickly and very quietly incorporated as a religious organization who didn't have to pay their main taxes. Today, the church, called the California Community Church, located in a fucking strip mall, because all the best churches are located in fucking strip malls. It's a strange and secretive church that allegedly charges members $1,000 a month to be a part of the church, on top of tithing, which they're expected to tithe 10% of their income, apparently. It was started by Kris Jenner while married to Bruce Jenner, and no one will be surprised to learn that the church has multiple controversies and questionable links. Surprise, surprise. The family who's tied to William Branham, Ava Hagopian, and the Pentecostal fucking New Reformation, they have some dodgy shit in their church. The pastor of the church, who Kris Jenner handpicked herself, was kicked out of his previous church for fucking around behind his wife's back, using his power as a pastor to fuck around and sleep with women in the church. Not kidding. He got fired from his last church, and Kris Jenner went, "You like to fuck? My daughter likes to fuck. Why don't you come and run our church?" Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He also did the whole prosperity gospel thing. Again, it's all this NAR stuff. Go to narconnections.wordpress.com if you want more information on that, or you can go to william-branham.org. The church has also been accused of tax evasion in the past. They weren't paying their employees. They were like taking the taxes, weren't paying employees.
Of course, Kris is going to want the person who's good at tax evasion when she's just opened a tax write-off church. Like,
there we go.
Shocker.
Right? Shocker, shocker, shocker. And while the Kardashians don't actually seem to go to their own church, because they're never photographed at their church, they're photographed usually at NAR Revivalist Dominionism. Right? That's the Seven Mountains mandate, the idea that they have to take over government, business, entertainment, Those are the churches that the Kardashians get photographed at, like Zoe Church with Chad Veach, who's a fucking scumbag, Church Home with Judah Smith, who's also a fucking scumbag. Both of these churches have been accused of being cults because they're tied to the NAR and they teach prosperity gospel. When you see that, and then you see the Kardashians running their own church, again, that they don't go to, it looks weird. And then when you add in William Branham, Avik Hagopian, Lou Taylor, who also goes to Calvary Baptist Church and Calvary Temple Church in Nashville, which is also big into NAR, it starts to look like something. I'm just, it's so in line with it. It's so like, oh, well, this is what we know, and it's working. Always feed our family with lots of money if we continue to do. Yep. Which you can go to patreon.com/Scandal Queens. I've got this like huge database where I've been writing about this stuff and doing videos and all kinds of stuff. So if you want more on that, you can go and listen to that. But to this day, tons of accusations that still surround the church. There was a big dust up in 2013 because Kim went online and did this big eBay charity auction. And she's like, I'm going to donate the proceeds to charity. Well, it turns out she only donated 10% of her proceeds from this big auction that she did of all her old stuff. And that charity donation went to her mama's church. And, that's just really convenient, isn't it? Because Kim then doesn't have to pay taxes on that donation, but then it goes into the coffers of her mama's church, who also doesn't have to pay tax on that donation. Isn't that just lovely? Isn't that just great? She potentially got 2 write-offs for it, a tithing and a charity donation. So just fucking nuts. It's clearly like, in my personal opinion, it's tax evasion. That church is tax evasion.
It's a direct feedback loop. It's like when people are like, oh, well, Jeff Bezos donated this much, and it's like, that's like a grain of fucking rice.
Yeah. It's like, now let's calculate all the damage that he's caused, all the wages that he's thefted from workers. Let's calculate those numbers and then see if that like $20,000 donation to a food bank really matters.
It's a feedback loop, and it's dangerous because it means like it's just like how like shitty governments will funnel money out of different like communities so that they can pay their investors off. It's creating a feedback loop that means that anytime they earn anything, they can put it into the church, which means it doesn't get taxed. They can get all of the money, and they can pretend like they're being good people.
Exactly. Exactly. This is also why I got people so mad at me on Instagram, especially when I said I don't think Kim Kardashian had anything to do with that guy who snuck some cocaine in a Skims shipment. That's not their MO. Running money through a church is their MO. You know what I mean? Like being in gray areas. Being a drug dealer is pretty fucking black and white. You get caught doing that, you're going to jail, right? There's no getting out of that. Right. But if you're running money through a church, what's going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is they're going to fine you. You're not going to go to prison for that. You're going to get fined if they can even ever track that stuff down, which these people run their money through so many different people and businesses and all kinds of stuff that there's just like, there's no telling. It's so hard to track it down and nail it down. And there's no real charges for it when there is. But yeah, my personal opinion, church is tax evasion. It's to allow them to get away with stuff. But this is the MO, right? This is the MO. Now, of course, you can't talk about Kardashian crimes without talking about the endless times they've stolen from creatives, because that's what the Kardashians do. That is the backbone. Again, that's why I get so frustrated when people are like, they're business geniuses. I'm like, no, the people they have copied from are creative and business geniuses, which you will see. By 2012, Keeping Up with the Kardashians gets really, really big, right? But the Kardashian family is tired of Kim being the ass of all the jokes because she's constantly getting made fun of. Everyone just sees her as a sex tape. So 2012 is when the family starts trying to kind of branch into more legitimate businesses. This is when they're starting to do like skincare lines and clothing and stuff instead of scam cards and keychains and all kinds of bullshit. That's around 2012. And this is when they just immediately, the second the Kardashians start doing businesses, they immediately start getting accused of stealing shit. So in 2012, Kim, Kourtney, Khloé launched a makeup line called Chroma. Oops, when you know, there's two other established makeup brands with the exact same fucking name and branding. They literally copied the name, they copied the branding from two separate companies and thought no one would notice. Well, both companies noticed, and they sued the shit out of the Kardashians, and it went on for years, and the Kardashians rightfully lost the lawsuit. The court went, yeah, you guys copied everything. You got to change the name, you got to change the branding, you got to change everything. So they had to change it to Kardashian Beauty. So if you're still buying any of the Kardashian skincare and beauty stuff, just know you're buying stolen drop shipped shit. Okay. In 2015, Kendall Jenner and Kylie Jenner, along with PacSun, were sued for a line of t-shirts they released that read, "Run away, fall in love, never return," because it turns out the shirts were directly stolen from an independent t-shirt designer who immediately sued them, and they had to settle and drop the shirts within days of them being announced. That's 2015. Also in 2015, Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian got sued by the app designer Kung Fu Factory because they sat down in a billion meetings with Kung Fu Factory, designed a whole game, and then once the whole game was designed, they took everything and walked away and didn't pay Kung Fu any money, took it to a cheaper developer and got them to make it instead. So if you ever played Kim Kardashian's Hollywood game, you helped scam people. Also in 2015, Kylie became embroiled in numerous trademark lawsuits, including one against pop star Kylie Minogue, because in 2015, Kylie tried to trademark the name and word Kylie, which would have forced Kylie Minogue to stop using it as a part of her branding. So Kylie fucking Minogue sued back and told Kylie Jenner to eat a bag of dicks, and Kylie Jenner indeed did have to eat a bag of dicks because Kylie Minogue won it, and Kylie Jenner was not allowed to trademark the name Kylie.
If there are anyone young listening to this who doesn't understand the far reaches that Kylie Minogue has,
Kylie
bopped along to Kylie Minogue.
Yeah,
like we're talking like she guest starred, was one of the first guest stars on the Wiggles. She was the first pink shirt Wiggle. I shit you not. For years they didn't put anyone else in a pink shirt. She was the only one that got to wear one for so freaking long.
I didn't know that.
Kylie Minogue is big, like in every country. She's
That to me, when someone says Kylie, that's who I think of. I think of her like in the 2001 like Video Music Awards when she came up on the CD. They like popped her up on the CD. I was like, oh my God. I remember watching that. Yeah, no, that was amazing. So that happened. In 2017, Khloé and Kylie got called out again for stealing fashion designs. Kylie got accused, rightfully so, obviously so, of stealing Plugged NYC's neon camo collection. And then that same year, Khloe was credibly, and this is a big one, she was credibly basically sued and accused by Destiny Blue of stealing these denim designs for her new brand, Good American. And she, again, had to remove them because it was obviously fucking stolen. Both of those, obviously fucking stolen. That same year, 2017, Kendall and Kylie released a line of vintage t-shirts together, and then they were pasted with Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, Nirvana, all these bands. And guess what? They didn't get a single ounce of permission for not a goddamn thing that they used. Not a goddamn thing. And there were some racist shirts in there too. Some of the shirts had some racist shit on them. And so guess what? Within 24 hours, the estates of Tupac and Biggie had both sent cease and desist letters. And within 24 hours, the sisters, had to take the shirts down. They were just like, yeah, I'm just going to use all these famous bands. We're just going to do it. We're going to use you to make money.
One of the ever CDs that I ever bought was a Tupac CD. Like,
was it?
Yeah, as a metalhead, you wouldn't expect, but no, like they. Oh my God.
Yeah, they just decided we're going to use Tupac's face and we're going to put it on shirts. And that's what they do. This is what I'm saying. They don't sling cocaine. They do copyright infringement. They do trademark infringement. They do waspy ass crimes and go, well, you got to have money. If you want to take us down, we'll just see. The worst. We could go on. I'm not even kidding. If you go to The Fashion Law, I think it's thefashionlaw.com. They have a running live list of ongoing, like a whole historical list of all the times the Kardashians have been sued for trademark infringement and for stealing shit. And it's still ongoing to this day. And there's like 40 different things on there. We can't go over all of them. We can't. There's just too much. So go to The Fashion Law if you want to hear about all that. But yeah, when it comes to creative ventures, the Kardashians are thieves. They're the least creative people. I swear to you, could sit. I genuinely believe if you sat Kim Kardashian down and you were like, draw a house like a kindergartner with some M-birds, I don't think she could do it unless you showed her a picture. I genuinely think look at her house. There's no color in it. It looks like a blank sheet of paper. Kim Kardashian's house is like her personality, a blank fucking sheet of paper.
Her did like the beige wrapping for Christmas presents or some shit as well. Like,
she's rotted. That frontal lobe is Swiss cheese. Worthless. I would believe that $8.4 million cocaine of shipment was for her personal use. If someone said that, I would believe that. I believe that that's probably what's eating holes in her fucking brain, makes her brain not fucking work. But other than, I could do a whole nother episode on my thoughts on Kim Kardashian's brain. I have a lot of them. Now, as fun as trademarks are, we are getting on in the episode. So now I think it is time to talk about that time that Caitlyn Jenner killed someone. Every time I bring this up, people look at me and go, what? Caitlyn Jenner killed someone? Yes, Caitlyn Jenner fucking killed a woman. Okay? And that is what it is. And here's the story. Because this somehow, I don't know why it gets lost. I don't know if it gets lost because it's Caitlyn and the last name's Jenner, not Kardashian, but she was a married Kardashian at this point. So here's what happened. February 7th, 2015, not that long ago, Caitlyn Jenner kills someone. It's a rainy day in Malibu. Okay, winter, rainy, cool. It's not like snowing or anything, but it's rainy, it's cool. And Caitlyn, who still identifies as Bruce Jenner at this time, is flying down the Pacific Coast Highway with a trailer and an ATV strapped to the back of the car, speeding, going over the speed limit. Okay, Cadillac Escalade, big vehicle, flying down, gets to a stoplight and is apparently on the phone, not paying attention. Stories vary, and slams into the back of a Lexus, which then slams into the back of another car. And that first car that Caitlyn hits, this Lexus, goes flying into the intersection where it is T-boned by a Hummer, killing the 69-year-old driver, Kim Howe, who's an actress and an animal rights activist. Absolutely horrific. If you go and look at the scenes, horrific. I'm pretty sure she was declared dead on scene, which in America you can only do if there's like six certain signs of death, and they're very extreme to be able to declare death on the scene. It's got to be like beheading, gray matter, so much blood at the scene that there's no way a human could survive that much blood. But usually if it's a declaration on scene, it's like decapitation, brain matter, exposed heart in the chest. Like, it's like no one can survive. It's got to be pretty extreme. Yeah. Caitlyn had pushed Hal's car into the intersection, like I said, where it got struck by a Hummer, and she was killed. And also injured in the accident was Jessica Steindorf, who was a Hollywood agent and ended up suing Jenner, like went on a lawsuit for years and years and years. But ultimately, Caitlyn never got charged for anything. Never. She got a couple of civil lawsuits. The police decided not to charge her, even though they had tons of ample evidence that she was driving recklessly, was speeding in the rain, flew right in full speed, apparently, into the back of this woman in 2015. Just horrifically. And had the state chosen to prosecute her, this was on Johnny Cochran's website. The Cochran law firm is where I found this information after the second lawsuit. But had the state chosen to charge her, which they kind of seem to hint that it should have been because it would have been a very clear-cut case, it could have been felony. It either would have qualified as manslaughter or felony murder because she was going so fast and driving so recklessly. Terrifying. But she's a Kardashian, right? So nothing happened to her. She got away with it. How fun is that?
Isn't it real common that like police forces and things like that, like people on the force in certain like areas are like way into the churches anyway? And like,
and also just the celebrity pockets in general. Yeah.
I scratch back, you scratch mine type of shit.
Yeah, that obviously would have been the Malibu police, but they all have a close working relationship, I'm sure, with the LAPD, and the LAPD is one of the notoriously most corrupt police forces in the U.S. all the way back to the very beginning. I'm going to do some old Hollywood stories on future episodes, and I'll be talking about like how corrupt the police force was. It hasn't changed much, which you also will find out if you go digging into Scientology and like where is Shelley Miscavige. But yeah. Yeah, I have to do an episode on that at some point.
Here for hours.
Hours. But yeah, Caitlyn Jenner killed somebody. So good times. That's the third dead body that we know of that can be tied one way or another to this family, which is crazy because, I mean, I know that my granddaddy's got some dead bodies in World War II, but I sure can't say that, you know, he's got like murdered friends around him. I'll just put that way. I'll put that way. Now, we could go on all day about the rest of the crimes, the shady connections the Kardashians have maintained and created throughout the years. We could go on and on for another 4+ hours about all the damage they've done to women, to girls, to the media. We could talk about even more. I could keep going fucking on about their ties to right-wing evangelical political movements. But frankly, I'm fucking exhausted. This has been 4 parts. This is probably going to be like a 2-hour-long episode or pretty close to it. We know that OJ isn't the only dodgy character in the Kardashian books. For decades, that family has retained close personal ties to Diddy, who's currently serving a prison sentence for trafficking humans. The Kardashian sisters were heavily featured at his various events and even bragged on their own show about being, and I quote, butt naked at his wild events, aka they were doing the freak-offs. We could also talk about the years-long relationship that Kim and Khloe maintained with international criminal Zhou Lao, who went to Kim Kardashian's first marriage, a man who stole millions from the Malaysian Development Fund, a fund which was meant to benefit the people of Malaysia and build the infrastructure of Malaysia and make life better for Malaysians. Zhou Lao stole millions from that so he could go and live in LA, gifting Kim Kardashian Lambos, priceless paintings, and trash bags full of cash. Yes, I'm not kidding. Google Kim Kardashian garbage bags full of cash, which she got questioned by the FBI for, by the way. Also very fun. Go and look that up. We could also talk about Kim Kardashian's crypto scam that she got fined $1.26 million for promoting on Instagram during the COVID pandemic. Or we could talk about the Instagram lottery/data mining scam that Kim Kardashian and Scott Disick ran together around the same time. They're
I hope that man gets butted by someone so hard that he just ends up with like a like permanent disfigurement or something.
I wish.
That man is a walking polished turd.
100%. Couldn't describe him better myself. There is so much more we could talk about, but frankly, I'm tired. I'm sure Connie's tired. And how much more proof do we really fucking need? Do we really need to keep going? Because we could talk on and on about Lou Taylor, which, spoiler alert, that's one of my future episodes is going to be about. We could talk about the endless Kardashian tries to TriStar management and their potential ties to the conservatorship of Britney Spears. We could talk about Kim's ties to Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and a million other right-wing cronies who are destroying America from the inside out, which I have done quite a lot on TikTok if you want to go and watch that. We could talk about endless crimes, endless shadows, endless controversies and scandals, because that's all the Kardashians are. They're hollow. They're scammers. They're shallow. They are empty vessels who don't even experience their own humanity firsthand. They live through their fucking phones. They live through their scams. They are secondhand experiencing life. The crimes will continue because that's the only way they know how to exist. They've been doing it for over 100 years. The scams will never end until the people end them, until we stand up and say, get the fuck off my screen, every screen, get the fuck out of here, shut up, I don't ever want to see you again. Until we do that, the Kardashians are going to keep being scammers the only way they know how, because it's the only way they know how to win. They aren't creators. They don't create. They're ticks. They're parasites. They siphon. They play the clown while the mobsters in the background pick the pockets of the people in the audience. And we could talk about a million more crimes and potential future crimes that I'm sure the Kardashians are going to do that we could predict right here and right now, because fundamentally, that's who the Kardashians are in their hearts. They're fucking clowns and they're fucking thieves. And that's what I have to say about them. That's what I have to say on that. Connie, you got any thoughts?
Honestly, like, for everyone listening, like we made sure these were like digestible like episodes.
Yeah.
There is a fucking smorgasbord out there that you could go and look up. We couldn't even fit in this because it was.
I'm not doing 5 episodes of this shit. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick.
We're not doing another episode after this. If this isn't enough for people to be like, oh, yuck, to the Kardashians, stop putting any kind of time or effort into them. Like, I'm sorry, but those people are stuck in a warped reality where there should be people on pedestals, which that should not be a thing.
Yeah, 100%. No disagreement from me. And this series should not be your encyclopedia. It should be your starting point. I fully expect everything I've yapped about over the last 4 episodes, probably like almost 8 hours of this shit, that you will Google it, that you can Google it, and you will be told these things. I mean, this shit is so common. AI will get it right on Google. That stupid little AI box at the top, it gets these right half the time because this is common knowledge. These are factual things in legal documents, in legal videos, in legal briefs. These things happened. It's real. You can go on the BBC and read about it. You can go on The Independent, The Guardian, all of these things. And these stories are there because they are real. They factually fucking happened. This family are fucking criminals. And anyone associated with them, I don't give a fuck if you love Jacob Elordi. If he is associating with this scumbag family, he's a fucking scumbag too. This family has been scumbag for generations. They have not broken the pattern yet. We have no reason to think they ever will.
I don't even know who Jacob Elordi is.
He's that long stretched fucking lurch looking motherfucker that's in Euphoria and was in the new Frankenstein movie.
They haven't seen either of those either.
I'll send you a picture. He creeps me out. He looks like he got put in a taffy puller. I don't like it. He's like that one that plays Thor. Their limbs are, the proportions are wrong. They're too stretched. They look weird. Too much. Too weird. So that's it. The first chapter of my Kardashian deep dive closed. What did you think? Are the Kardashians all they are cracked up to be, or are they something else entirely? Let me know your thoughts on social media or send me a little text through the podcast. You can tap that little link at the top of the description and it'll send me a text. Love to know your thoughts. But heads up, this isn't entirely the end. I've opened a wormhole with this one, especially as it pertains to the Kardashians, Lou Taylor, Clive Davis, Irving Azoff, Diddy, Mary J. Blige, all of them. And I intend to follow that wormhole right down to the very fucking end of the rabbit hole. So make sure you're following me and Scandal Queens on all socials, because I'm going to be doing future episodes on the corruption of the American music and entertainment industry, the evangelical beliefs at the center of the entertainment industry, because when you find out how many nut job Pentecostals you got running around in Hollywood, you're going to be baffled. Baffled. The Kardashians, just scratching the surface. So get the latest by following me on all the socials at The Real E.B. Johnson on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. For even more deeper dives into Hollywood's most corrupt, please make sure you join me on Patreon for, again, video deep dives, bonus episodes, early podcast releases, lots of good stuff. That's at patreon.com/scandalqueens. If you're more into the psychological side of things, you want to know how a narcissist ticks and all that, head over to Substack, therealebjohnson.substack.com for all of my essays and guides there. And if you loved this episode, please leave a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. It helps the other weirdos find me, and it helps fight the Swifties. I don't think I told you guys this. There was a huge campaign launched against me at the end of last year and the start of this year by the Swifties. They organized it through Discord and through Twitter. I was being sent this from my fans. They swamped my podcast with bad reviews to try to get it dropped and to get no one listening to it. So if you listen to this and you hate Swifties and you want to help me, please leave a 5-star review. And the Swifties will figure out that they can go fuck themselves, because when you kick me, I only come back twice as strong out of spite.
Swifties are in a cult.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they are.
It's a main cult.
Yeah, I don't have any respect for that. So I'm not, that's why I'm keeping going. I don't give a shit how many Swifties want to get on here and like leave me bad reviews. I'm going to keep running my fucking mouth. I'll get worse. They don't seem to understand that. They think like, oh, you kicked the Swifties and we're going to get worse. Bitch, I'm going to get worse. You keep fucking kicking me, I'm going to get worse. And I'm going to start sharing Scott Swift's emails pretty soon, which is going to upset a lot of them. Gonna upset a lot of them.
They don't know what ADHD spite and dedicated ADHD spite will do just to prove a point.
I'm an Aries who embraces my spite. I will burn this whole fucking world down, myself included. Myself in fucking included. So
I cheer it on constantly. I will make sure that Evie has all of the confidence.
Yeah,
don't you?
I'll scorched earth, bitch. Anyway, so yeah, 5-star review if you hate Swifties. Thank you. Tangent there. Connie, thank you so much for doing this with me. I know this was a fucking slog. I really appreciate it.
Evie, know if you want me to come back, because I will.
Yeah, I'll have you back in the future. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely going to have you back for sure. And I will be back next week with a lighter scandal. This was heavy. This was a lot of work. I had to do a lot of research. I still am on Patreon. It's too much. So next week, I'm going to be taking a look at the golden age of Hollywood, because I love classic Hollywood. And the scandals are fucking crazy. And I'm going to do one of the original scandal queens from the silver screen, just a little one-off episode. So I won't give too much away, but it's going to be good. So make sure you're here next week for another episode of Scandal Queens, and until next time, keep your secrets close, your receipts closer, stay scandalous, queens. Bye-bye.